The long and winding road of a perfect 12-0 season has led the Ducks here to Glendale, Arizona, start of the BCS National Championship game. Oregon's high-powered, fast-paced offense may finally have met its match in Auburn. The Tigers feature the Heisman Trophy-winning Cam Newton, who figures to give Oregon all it can handle. It has definitely been a whirlwind week for both Oregon and Auburn. We'll catch up with all that's been going on in the days leading up to the game. Plus, we'll also take a look back at a stellar season. There were so many jaw-dropping plays we just couldn't do a top 10. That and plenty more coming up in a full 1 hour, live from Arizona in this BCS Bound Bowl Special.
It's going to come down to a game of fundamentals. Offensively, we have to be able to control their front four. And then obviously the turnover game is going to be huge. You know, whoever wins that turnover battle is probably going to win the game.
Hello and welcome to BCS Bound, live from the Inside the Pack studio. Later we'll connect with our crew in Arizona. I am Nick Krupke, he is Phil Milani, and Phil, we've been talking about this thing for a long time, a season of perfection for the Ducks, and started off strong, finished with a flourish. Now it's the moment Duck fans have been waiting for more than a month, but their entire lives for it.
Yeah, this is a huge game for them. You know, in the past, they've had so many opportunities. In 2001, it looked like they were going to get it done. Joey Harrington, then they ended up having to go to that Fiesta Bowl. Then in 2007, another great season, but then Dennis Dixon blew his knee out. So this is definitely the time for the Ducks.
When they used to say, we're going to go play in the national championship, a lot of people kind of laughed and scoffed at that, but now they're to that point. They've had the uniforms, they've had the hip trendy thing. Now they're in the big game. They can't be knocked for that anymore. A lot of people, you know, envious of the Ducks' position, envious of where they've gotten to, the hip and cool. But now it's such a big national story. I mean, you're looking at things that, you know, Sebastian Bach making a story on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and he's going to be flown out to the pep rally out there today. So certainly big things for the Ducks, and certainly some bigger things on tap too if they can get that win. It's now been 36 days since winning the Civil War, and it's time to move on. We check in live now with our crew down in Arizona. Tom Ward and Dirk Weishaar have been with the team all week long, and guys, the fans down there a little bit on edge right now, the day before the game.
Oh, they certainly are. They're lighting off fireworks right now. They just had one of the biggest pep rallies I've ever seen in my life. They had to stop letting people in, and Dirk, it is a wild scene right now. As today we had the pep rally, but then also the head coaches talked for the final time.
Yeah, both head coaches talked this morning, their final press conference. Both kind of laid out their keys to victory. Chip Kelly, the head coach for Oregon, and Gene Chizik, the coach of Auburn.
All right, well, let's take a look at both of these teams. This matchup by the numbers. These are two of the best offenses in college football. Oregon led the nation in scoring, 592 points this season in 12 games. That's a 49.3 per game average. And Auburn, 555 points, 42.7 per game over 13 games.
But the defenses are both solid as well. The Ducks, number 10 in the nation in scoring defense, just 18.4 points per game. And Auburn, not quite as good at 24.5 points per game.
Total yardage near dead even, and the touchdown scored. Oregon's 6 TD edge mainly comes from scoring on defense and special teams. You see the 8 non-offensive touchdowns by the Ducks. 5 of those came on punt returns. Here now, we look at the big matchup in this game, the Oregon defense versus the indomitable Cam Newton.
He's college football's ultimate weapon. 6'6", 250 pounds, Tigers quarterback Cam Newton is capable of doing serious damage to opposing defenses.
You know, every play looking over on the other side of the line, that's the Heisman Trophy winner of this year.
Not only did Newton complete 67% of his passes this season, his 188.2 passer efficiency rating topped the NCAA. Combine that passing ability with the Southeastern Conference's leading rusher, and you've got a challenge greater than almost anything the Ducks have seen.
You got a gang tackle. We've watched film, and a lot of teams, they're used to having one guy tackle the runner, and so they just don't always work as hard. We pride ourselves on our effort. Coach Kelly says that we want to lead the nation in effort, and so that's how we practice every day.
You know, like I said, I'm just going to continuously do, you know, what got us here, and you know, and just do that, and hopefully, you know, we'll be successful.
With a 7-point lead,
About the only thing that compares to what Oregon will be up against in Newton is what they had the greatest trouble with in 2010, Ohio State quarterback Terrell Pryor. While the Auburn offense is different from Ohio State's in last year's Rose Bowl, it wasn't necessarily the Buckeye offense in general that beat the Ducks in that game.
I think our problem wasn't schematically in the Rose Bowl, was that we couldn't tackle him. You know, we had a lot of shots at Terrell and we couldn't get him down to the ground, and all the credit to Terrell in terms of how we played and how we performed. And he kept drives alive with his feet, but he also hurt us throwing the football.
To me, they're very similar, and I think that our defense has grown up and matured enough over the last year to be able to handle it better than we did last year.
He's more of a smooth runner. He likes to have the ball in his hands a lot more, making plays with his feet as well as his arm, and I believe he's a better passer. Not taking anything away from Terrell Pryor.
The Tigers in Newton will be up against an Oregon defense that has grown and matured since the Terrell Pryor experience. But the Tigers have already faced 3 of the top defenses in the nation this season in Alabama, LSU, and Florida.
Nobody's really looking at us. You know, they're expecting us to be run over by, you know, a high-powered offense. You know, I really don't really pay attention to any of that. All I know is that from our standpoint as a defensive group, this is our last time we're going to play together. And, you know, and that means more to us than anything.
You know, they blitz a lot. You know, try to cause a lot of confusion, and with all that confusion, you know, it's very. They end up being very successful.
Just looking forward to going up against them. Hopefully, that should answer some questions.
Well, if he could drop the ultimate weapon in college football, Newton certainly would look like that. Something like that. 6'6", 250, accounted for 49 touchdowns for the Tigers, threw for 28, ran for 20, even caught 1 touchdown. He's responsible for a whole heck of a lot of what they've been able to do. 4,040 yards when you factor in the passing, the rushing, his 2 pass receptions for 42 yards. And, you know, Phil, he can certainly do a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people compare him to Terrell Pryor from last year, but he's even bigger, stronger, and like they were saying, smoother than Terrell Pryor is, and he's going to give them a handful, definitely.
And really just kind of burst on the scene. I mean, he was at junior college, and, you know, all the pay-for-play schemes, and they let him play in that SEC championship game. He's playing in the bowl game. Maybe he leaves and goes to the NFL. What happens to that? But you look at the Pryor last Rose Bowl about a year ago. I mean, he was second in the NCAA this season in points, responsible for 22.6 there. Speaking of Cam Newton, but certainly Cam hasn't been able to do it all by himself. He's got a lot of players behind him, and he's had a big senior class that's helped him really rally some major deficits in games this year by winning some closely contested contests. Cool. The Tigers feel they are a battle-tested group.
Gilbert fumble. Ball's loose.
Roll Tide in 2009 and War Eagle in 2010. Auburn never wants to take a back seat to their Alabama rivals, and this year the Tigers were front and center in the Southeastern Conference.
The key to our success is just, you know, never giving up. No matter, you know, if we're down 24, 17, nobody ever starts arguing, nobody gets their heads down. We know what we got to do.
But even though the Tigers won the SEC and went 13-0, it wasn't easy as Auburn survived several scares along the way.
Yeah, they definitely make you feel battle-tested because once you get caught in one of those situations, it's not, you know, a nervous deal. You know, it's somewhere that you've already been, you've recognized this, and it's just time to turn the switch on.
The Tigers nearly lost to the Tigers of Clemson. Clemson held a 17-0 lead in the second quarter before Auburn reeled off 21 points in the third quarter.
I think that prepared us for, you know, the long run. I think we know how to handle the situation now, but not getting down first and trying to stay on top.
The Tigers needed a field goal at the final horn to knock off Kentucky, scored 28 points in the fourth quarter to get by 12th-ranked Arkansas 65-43, and then outlasted number 6 LSU 24-17.
We have a lot of guys on this team that are very relentless, and you know, just playing with those guys, you know, just motivates me, you know, as a player to play for them and risk it all on every single play just to play with those guys.
Auburn fell behind 21-7 to Georgia before blowing out the Bulldogs 49-31. Then in the Iron Bowl, the Tigers came back from a 24-0 deficit to win 28-27 before clobbering South Carolina in the SEC title game.
The real close ones, I think it honestly comes down to the group of seniors that you have on the team. And we're just lucky enough to have a group of seniors that's very large and very vocal as far as leadership role on the team goes.
All right, thanks, Dirk. Well, taking a closer look at Auburn's road to Glendale, the Tigers won 6 games by 8 points or less. The Ducks, on the other hand, had just 1 game decided by 8 points or less, the 2-point victory against KVAL.
Yeah, that was one a lot of Duck fans were biting their nails on. Much like Oregon this year, Auburn a tendency to start slowly as they fell behind early to Clemson and South Carolina in that first meeting on the 25th with Georgia and Alabama. They also survived a shootout, too, with Arkansas, and that's the kind of question, what kind of game are we going to see? A lot of these teams certainly can put up a whole lot of points, a whole lot of offense. Which defense will maybe answer the bill better? We've certainly seen Auburn give up some big-time pass plays. The Ducks have been pretty good, a lot more than they get credit for, but they can get up the big pass play as well.
Yeah, the way Auburn fell behind against Alabama, maybe against this Ducks team, if they fall behind like that, this Ducks team can put up more and more and more points, so, they don't want to get behind early on.
And certainly from this year, you've seen the Ducks are the best, one of the best second-half teams, especially in the fourth quarter, that we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Plenty more to come on the show. We've got an hour-long show. We'll check back in live with our guys and bring in David Walker. He's been tracking the team and the fans all week in Arizona, and been a ton of excitement, of course. Plus, so many great plays this year for the Ducks from the offense, the defense, and of course that special teams. We'll count them all down from 12 to 1 when this BCS Bound Bowl special rolls on from Arizona. And we've got plenty more on the Ducks and Tigers online all the time on our website. That's InsideThePack.com. BCS Bound. Back after this.